When Madison Square Garden erupted for Dolph Ziggler's return, nobody expected what Wade Barrett would do live on air. The WWE commentator completely lost it, his voice cracking with pure emotion as his longtime friend walked through that curtain. But that's just scratching the surface of what went down during John Cena's final Raw appearance. And the truth about why Ziggler really came back is way more complicated than anyone's admitting. Dolph Ziggler hadn't stepped foot in a WWE ring as a competitor in over 2 years. September 2023 was when WWE released him, cutting ties with someone who'd given them nearly 2 decades of his life. Since then, he's been tearing it up as Nick Nemeth in TNA Wrestling, capturing their world championship and proving he didn't need WWE to stay relevant. He even won the TNA World Tag Team Championships with his real-life brother, Ryan Nemeth. The guy was thriving outside of Vince McMahon's empire, making more money on the independent circuit than most people realize. So when Solo Sikoa stood in that ring waiting for his mystery opponent in the Last Time Is Now tournament, nobody saw this coming. The music hit. The crowd absolutely lost their minds. And there he was, using the Dolph Ziggler name again, not Nick Nemeth. That detail right there tells you everything about the politics happening behind the scenes. Wade Barrett's reaction became the moment everyone's talking about. The Rock commentator literally marked out like a fan, his professional broadcasting voice disappearing as genuine shock took over. Barrett and Ziggler go way back, and not just as colleagues. These two are legitimate friends in real life, which makes the moment even more special. They had a rivalry years ago when Barrett was still an active wrestler, facing off multiple times for the Intercontinental Championship. Barrett won that title 5 times during his career, and Ziggler held it 6 times himself. Their history runs deep, filled with respect earned through countless matches where they beat the absolute hell out of each other. When Ziggler's entrance music blasted through the Garden speakers, you could hear Barrett's voice crack with excitement. Social media exploded with clips of the commentary team's reaction, with fans calling it one of the most wholesome moments in recent WWE history. But here's what makes this even more interesting. Barrett knew. He had to know Ziggler was coming back. WWE doesn't just spring surprises on their commentary team without any warning. So either Barrett's acting skills are Oscar-worthy, or the emotion was so real that professional training went straight out the window. The match itself told its own story. Solo Sikoa didn't know who he was facing until Ziggler walked out, and cameras caught Sikoa's genuine surprise in real time. The former Bloodline enforcer has been on a mission to prove himself as the next big thing in WWE, and tournament victories like this are exactly what he needs on his resume. Ziggler came out swinging, looking like he never left. The crowd chanted his name non-stop, creating an electric atmosphere that only Madison Square Garden can deliver. Ziggler threw Sikoa into the commentator's table multiple times, showing he still has that aggressive edge. He hit a picture-perfect top rope elbow drop that got a massive pop, but only resulted in a 1 count. After the commercial break, Sikoa had taken control with a devastating Samoan drop. The momentum shifted back and forth, with Ziggler hitting a spiked DDT and his signature move called Blonde Ambition for a near fall that had everyone thinking he might actually win this thing. Then came the sequence that proved Ziggler still belongs at the top level. He connected with his finishing move, the zigzag, and the entire arena thought it was over. But Sikoa got his shoulder up at 2, barely surviving the pin attempt. The referee got an earful from the Madison Square Garden crowd, who started chanting things that probably shouldn't be repeated on a family-friendly broadcast. Ziggler tuned up the band, signaling for his super kick finisher. Sikoa caught the first attempt, showing impressive ring awareness, but Ziggler reset and landed it clean the second time. Another near fall. The tension in that building was suffocating. Ziggler threw Sikoa into the ring post and hit another zigzag. Surely this was it. Nope. Sikoa kicked out again, and the crowd went absolutely ballistic. These weren't just wrestling fans watching a match anymore. They were witnessing 2 warriors refusing to quit. The finish came brutally. Sikoa caught Ziggler with the Samoan spike, his devastating finishing move, and finally got the 3 count.
Solo Sikoa advances in the tournament, moving one step closer to facing John Cena in his retirement match on December 13th at Saturday night's main event. Ziggler sold that spike like he'd been shot, collapsing in a heap that made even hardened wrestling fans wince. After the match ended, something happened that cameras didn't fully catch. Sikoa reportedly told Ziggler something that social media is still buzzing about. According to people at ringside, Sikoa said, "Take your ass back where you came from," during the post-match confrontation. Whether that was just staying in character or something more serious, nobody's saying publicly. But wrestling Twitter exploded with theories about backstage heat and whether Sikoa was shooting for real.
This wasn't just any tournament. The Last Time Is Now tournament is determining who gets the honor of being John Cena's final opponent when he retires from professional wrestling. Cena announced his retirement plans back in July 2024, declaring that 2025 would be his final year of in-ring competition. He promised between 30 and 40 matches to close out a legendary career that spanned over 2 decades. The 16-man tournament features a mix of current WWE superstars, NXT rising stars, and surprise returns from wrestlers who've left the company. Zack Ryder, who wrestles as Matt Cardona everywhere except WWE now, made his own emotional return just days earlier on SmackDown. He faced LA Knight in the tournament and lost, but the moment was pure magic for longtime fans. Ryder and Ziggler were both part of WWE's roster during the same era, grinding it out for years before finally getting their releases and finding success elsewhere. The tournament bracket is absolutely stacked. Rusev defeated Damian Priest in the opening round. Sheamus beat Shinsuke Nakamura. Jey Uso took down The Miz. LA Knight advanced past Zack Ryder. Gunther, the intimidating Austrian powerhouse, faced Javon Evans in another first-round match that same night. The 21-year-old NXT standout took the ring general to his absolute limit, putting on a performance that had people talking about his future as a main event player. Gunther eventually won with a sleeper hold submission, but Evans earned massive respect in defeat. The remaining first-round matches are scheduled for SmackDown, with Finn Balor facing Penta and Carmelo Hayes battling Big Bronson Reed. Each of these wrestlers is hungry for the opportunity to retire a legend and cement their own legacy in the process. What makes Ziggler's return even more fascinating is the business side of everything. He's not signed to a WWE contract right now. This was reportedly a one-off appearance similar to Zack Ryder's situation. WWE structured it as a special attraction for John Cena's final Raw appearance at Madison Square Garden, bringing back a familiar face for the crowd to pop huge. But here's where things get interesting. Immediately after Ryder's return on SmackDown, WWE released new Zack Ryder merchandise on WWE Shop. That stuff became a top seller within hours, proving there's still massive demand for nostalgia acts. The exact same strategy is likely happening with Ziggler. WWE knows his return generated buzz, and they'll capitalize on that by flooding their online store with classic Dolph Ziggler gear. Fans will buy it up, WWE makes money, and Ziggler probably gets a cut of those sales even without a full-time contract. It's a win-win situation for everyone involved. The timing couldn't be more perfect either. Ziggler wrestled an independent show just 2 days before his WWE return. On November 15th, he faced Amazing Red at House of Glory's Superclash event in New York. That's the kind of schedule flexibility that full-time WWE contracts don't allow. By staying independent and working TNA dates, Ziggler maintains control over his career while still being able to take these special WWE opportunities when they arise. TNA has a working relationship with WWE now, particularly with NXT, which makes these crossover appearances possible. Ziggler has appeared on NXT television multiple times as part of storylines involving TNA wrestlers. But showing up on Raw or SmackDown as Dolph Ziggler instead of Nick Nemeth, that's a different level entirely.
Madison Square Garden holds special significance for both Ziggler and Cena. MSG is considered WWE's home base, the building where countless legendary moments have happened throughout wrestling history. For John Cena, this was his final Raw appearance before retirement. He'd already captured the Intercontinental Championship from Dominic Mysterio earlier in the show, achieving Grand Slam Championship status for the first time in his career with only 3 dates remaining before hanging up his boots. Cena is now one of fewer than 24 wrestlers ever to accomplish that feat. The emotional weight of everything happening that night made Ziggler's return even more impactful. Cena's retirement tour has brought back so many faces from his past, creating a nostalgia trip for fans who followed WWE for decades. The wrestling world is divided on whether Ziggler should stay or leave after this appearance. Some fans desperately want him back full-time, arguing that WWE never properly utilized his talents during his original run. Others think he's better off staying independent, maintaining his freedom, and making great money without the grueling WWE schedule. Ziggler himself has been diplomatic in interviews, expressing enjoyment with his TNA work, while hinting that a WWE comeback was always possible, without making any promises. October interviews from before this return showed him keeping all options open, playing the game smart by not burning bridges with anyone. Now that he's actually shown up, speculation is running wild about potential Royal Rumble appearances in 2026, or maybe even a brief championship run if WWE wants to reward his loyalty. Behind the scenes, there's another layer to all of this that nobody's talking about publicly. WWE has been criticized for years about how they've handled veteran releases. Guys like Ziggler, who gave them everything for nearly 2 decades, got unceremoniously cut with generic budget reasons explanations. Many of those released wrestlers went on to prove WWE wrong by becoming major stars elsewhere. Ziggler became TNA World Champion. Matt Cardona reinvented himself on the independent scene, building a merchandise empire that reportedly makes him more money than WWE ever paid him. These success stories have forced WWE to reconsider their relationships with former talent. Bringing them back for special appearances is WWE's way of mending fences without fully committing to new contracts. It's smart business, but it's also calculated as hell. John Cena's final match is scheduled for December 13th at Saturday night's main event in Washington, D.C. The tournament continues over the next few weeks with quarterfinal matches building toward an ultimate winner who earns that historic opportunity. Solo Sikoa is now in the mix after defeating Ziggler. Gunther advanced as well. LA Knight, Sheamus, Rusev, and Jey Uso are all moving forward. The field is narrowing and the stakes couldn't be higher. Whoever wins this tournament doesn't just get to face John Cena one last time. They get to say they retired arguably the greatest WWE superstar of this generation. That's the kind of career-defining moment wrestlers dream about from the day they first step into a ring. Solo Sikoa wants it. Every single person in this tournament wants it. The question is, who wants it badly enough to outlast everyone else? Ziggler's appearance also raised questions about what other surprises WWE has planned. Joe Hendry, the newly signed TNA star, was heavily rumored as a mystery opponent, but didn't appear. That suggests WWE is saving him for something else, possibly a later round in the tournament or a completely different storyline. The mystery opponent format creates speculation and buzz, driving viewership numbers higher as fans tune in hoping to see their favorites return. It's a formula WWE has perfected over decades, and it still works like magic when executed correctly. The Last Time Is Now tournament is rapidly becoming appointment viewing for wrestling fans, even those who've drifted away from WWE in recent years. What happens next for Dolph Ziggler remains the biggest unanswered question. Does he sign a Legends contract with WWE that allows occasional appearances? Does he go back to TNA and continue his run there? Does he focus on the independent circuit, where he has complete creative freedom? Or does WWE offer him something substantial enough to make a full-time return worthwhile?
Industry insiders are split on predictions, with most believing this was truly a one-off nostalgia appearance. But wrestling has a funny way of surprising people. Plans change constantly. What seems impossible on Monday becomes reality by Friday. If there's one thing Dolph Ziggler's career has proven, it's that he's too talented to stay away from the spotlight for long. Whether that spotlight belongs to WWE, TNA, or somewhere else entirely, the Showoff isn't finished stealing shows just yet.